welcome to Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds, with a particular focus as always on the exhibition style budgerigar. And in this episode what we're going to do is we're going to look at the breeding cages for all of the budgerigar, so all 6 breeding cages. I'll give you a full update on the breeding. I think I said I was going to do that in the last episode, but because we had the Oxford 1910 show and also speaking about the Lutino gene, we didn't manage to get round to giving a full update. So in this episode we will have a full update. For those of you that answered the question at the end of the last episode, thank you very much. I know that most people who did answer the question, in fact everybody that I've so far seen in the comment section who answered it, got a big thumbs up and got it correct. If you want to know what the answer to that question was, then do wait. I will give it to you after we've looked at the first 3 cages. If you're not aware of what that question was, then why don't you go back and have a look at the last video before you continue with this one. Right, as I say, we're going to have a look at all of the breeding cages. So let's start off as usual with cage number 1. So as promised then, we'll start off with cage number 1, and we spoke quite a bit about this pair in the last episode. So this is a yellow face opaline cockbird, sky blue cockbird, that we've paired to a grey-green cinnamon hen, and the cockbird is split for the INO gene. I won't talk any more about that. We did enough of that in the last episode. We've now rung the 2 chicks that were successfully hatched from this pair. So they're both growing on quite well here. You can see 2 of them. The eldest bird, or the oldest bird, is got the white down or whitish down by the looks of it, which means that it's going to be a cinnamon, I'm sure, or reasonably certain, partly because the eyes are not pink, don't show the pink colour of the INO. Of course, if it was an INO it would be a hen, but they don't show that pink coloured eyes. Anything to me, they look like they're more plum coloured, which would indicate that it's a cinnamon. Now, what does that mean? The cockbird is not a cinnamon, the hen is a cinnamon, so that means the cockbird must be split for cinnamon, and that this is going to be a cock. It can't possibly be, or it could be a hen. If the cock is split, of course, for cinnamon, then it could be a hen anyway. So my expectation is that this is going to be a cockbird, so it's going to be a cinnamon split for INO, if I'm correct. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see on that. The youngest one, I'm not really sure, but again, I think this is probably going to be a cinnamon as well, as with the slightly older bird, but I'm not 100% certain. So actually reasonable success in here. We're going to have a couple of birds off of this pair, and hopefully we're going to get 2 cockbirds that are going to be split for INO. So that's cage number 1, relatively successful. If we can bring these last 2 up, then I will be happy with that. Right, let's move on then to cage number 2. So cage number 2, well this pair have just finished weaning a single chick. They did have 2, unfortunately one of them died shortly after ringing, and that chick will very shortly be moved into the nappy flight. They're on their 3rd round. Sorry, so it's a cinnamon sky blue crossed to a normal green. Like I say, they're on their 3rd round. The hen laid 2 eggs, both of which she destroyed, and has now stopped laying. I've tried the marble trick, but she isn't laying. She's not continuing to lay. So as it's her 3rd round, I'm just wondering whether she's had enough of breeding and wants to have a rest. So that's what I think is happening here. So I'm trying to think what I now do with this. So obviously the youngster that's in there will be moved very shortly. I think what I want to do is I'm either going to take the cockbird out and pop him back in the main flight, or I'm going to take the cockbird out and put him into cage number 6. and I'll come on to why that's my two options when I come to talk about cage number 6. But you know, we've had a reasonably success story with this particular pair. We've got a few chicks off them, so I'm reasonably happy with how the hen has done. So that is cage number 2. Like I say, shortly I think my plan is going to be to split this particular pair up. So cage number 3, this is a a dark green dominant pied cockbird that we've put to a dark green hen. Now this hen is now on her 3rd round, although it's only her 2nd round with this cockbird. You may remember she was one of the first pairs we put down, and we put her down with a grey-green cockbird, really nice grey-green cockbird, but that bird had never filled any eggs, and the first round for this hen was all clear. So again, I put it down to the cockbird, so we swapped him out and popped this proven dominant pied into there. The first round between this pair, so the dominant pied and the dark green, again produced all clear eggs. We thought that might have been that they, they had only just been repaired up and there wasn't any mating going on, or any successful mating going on at that stage. However, this 2nd round, they've now laid another 6 eggs, this hen, and again all clear. So my plan with this pair is to let this hen sit this out, and I will gradually start removing the eggs, and then I will find this cockbird another hen to go in there with him, and hopefully he'll have more success with a new hen. So real shame, because I quite like the hen. She's one of those biggish hens, and it's off of a sky blue cockbird. I think the grandfather is a sky blue cockbird that I really did quite like, and has formed the basis of a number of pairs that are currently in the, or have been in the breeding cage this year. Anyway, that's cage number 2. Let's move on now then to one of the newer pairs in cage number 4. Well, as promised then, I will give you the answer to the question, but first of all, a quick update on this young fife that's behind me that was looking very under the weather. It's still not recovered, that's a certainty. In fact, if anything, over the last couple of days, it seems to have gone downhill even more. So what I've done is whilst I'm in here, I've turned the heating up even more to try and give it a little bit of a boost in terms of helping it along in terms of recovering. You might see at the moment it's on the perch behind me. It is still breathing very heavily, it's still fluffed up quite a lot, so I'm still not sure whether this bird is actually going to survive or not. Anyway, answer that question then. We asked why it was slightly more difficult to breed an albino than the lutino, and of course the answer is both of those genes that are required to produce the albino are recessive. So the INO gene we know is recessive, we spoke about that in the last episode, and of course an albino is a blue series INO, so it's the lutino is the green series. We know that green is dominant over blue, and therefore you would need to have 2 recessive genes in terms of the blue series and 2 recessive genes for the a cockbird in terms of the albino, and of course 2 + 1 in terms of the hen. I hope that makes sense. So there we go, the answer is we require 2 recessive genes on the same bird for the albino. Right, let's move on then and have a look at cages 4, 5 and 6. So cage number 5, this is a relatively newish pair. We've got a hen that's been in the cage for a little while, but we found her a new partner, so a new cockbird, which is a cobalt cockbird, and this the hen went back in and started to clear the nest box again, which is good news. So, and has now started laying. So far she's laid 4 eggs. Now the first 2 of those I am almost certain are clear, but the 3rd egg looks to me, and you can probably see it in the pictures, the 3rd egg looks to me like it is going to be full. So hopefully, hopefully this means that the 4th, 5th and 6th egg will also be full, and that it's just that the cockbird didn't start filling the eggs until midway through the hen starting to lay. I am hopeful here because I do like the hen, and the cockbird has some relatively good pedigree. It's off one of the best, or a really nice sky blue that I bred a few years ago. He is actually still in the flight that's holding the potential breeding birds, that particular cockbird. So he is getting a bit old, but I'm hopefully, if we've got time at the end of the season, I will find him a partner and try and get one more round off him. So like I say, reasonably happy, or I do like the cockbird, and as I say, it's off of a relatively good line. So I'm hoping that this pair will throw up some decent or reasonable birds. So reasonable success here with cage number 5, in that we've got eggs, and I think we got full eggs in, or at least one full egg in this cage. What about cage number 5, where we have got the Ino? I think I said this was cage number 5 at the beginning, didn't I? Correction, cage number 4 we just spoke about, and that's got the cobalt in it. Right, so cage number 5, which we will move on to cage number 5 now, which is the Ino. So cage number 5, this is a light green cockbird that we paired to the Lutino hen. Had lots of full eggs in the first round, but only actually managed to raise one chicken. Again, we'll have a look at that chick. It's in the nappy flight at the moment, but we will have a look at him probably in the next episode. So in the second round, again, a bit like their first round, these have produced quite a few full eggs. So they've laid 6 eggs in total. The first 4 are definitely full. It looks to me as if the last 2 are clear. So I think the cockbird missed the last 2 eggs. But anyway, so at least we've got 4 full eggs off of them so far. Now in the last round, the hen, I think, played around with these a little bit too much, and we had a few addled. So I think we had 3 addled and then 1 that was dead in shell. So I'm hoping this time she won't mess around with them too much. I've added a little bit more bedding to try and stop the eggs from rolling too much, but unfortunately she's one of these hens that then likes to move it to one side. So I'm in a little bit of a predicament. Do I add a bit more bedding to stop the eggs from moving, only to have her move that bedding out the way and therefore interfere with the eggs anyway, or do I just leave her with the amount that she's got in there? That's the little bit of the predicament we're in with this particular hen. Anyway, hopefully she'll look after them this time round, and we'll get a few more than the 1 chick we got off of the first round. But again, looking successful here, and you know, if we get some cockbirds out of here, then there's a chance that the cockbirds will be they're not a chance, they definitely will be split for Lutino, which is always a good thing. Right, so that's cage number 5. Let's move on to the last cage, cage number 6, and the cage that I'm thinking a little bit about in terms of what we do with the cockbird in cage number 2. Okay, moving on to the final cage, which is a cinnamon green cockbird that we've paired to a dark green dominant pied, and this is again a relatively newish pair. The cockbird's been in the cage a little while, and the hen is new to this cage. You may remember, if you go back a few episodes, when we looked at this pair, I was really concerned about the cockbird. You might remember that I thought he was off colour, and that I was umming and ahhing whether to put him into the cage. He's not showing any signs of being poorly, but I do get the distinct impression that he is not in condition. He's certainly not in condition to breed, and probably in hindsight, wonderful thing, but in hindsight I probably shouldn't have paired these up when I did. My plan definitely is to take this cockbird out of here and pop him back into the flight. You know, give him a couple of months. It might well be that he comes back into condition and we can use him towards the end of the breeding season. But what do we do about this hen? She's a youngish hen. She looks like she's coming into condition. You know, although she hasn't been into the nest box, but that might be just because of the condition of the cockbird, I don't know. Thoughts on that? But my thinking is, I've got two options here. I can take the cinnamon sky blue that's in cage number 2 out of there and pop them in here. Now I know that's a proven cockbird, so and it's quite a nice cockbird, came quite high in terms of my when I did my assessment, and I could put him in here and try him with this this hen and see how they get on. I need to obviously double check that there's not what the relationship is between these two birds, but I don't think it's going to be particularly close. Or alternatively, I could find her a fresh cockbird out of the flight, one that hasn't used so far this breeding season. Now there are pros and cons to both of those. I mean, clearly the pro to using the cockbird that's in cage number 2 is that he's a proven cockbird, and he was also one of my better cockbirds, otherwise he wouldn't have been in the breeding team this early on. So that would be the pros in terms of using him. The pros of getting the cons, I suppose, of using him is that I then end up with, you know, half brothers and sisters, which may not be a bad thing, but it does mean that it limits what I can do next year in terms of making sure I'm not breeding too close. The pros of getting a bird out of the main flight would be that exactly the opposite to that last con is that it's not going to be half brothers and sisters. It's going to be some new birds that won't be too close in terms of next year. Obviously the con is that I'm not sure whether that bird's going to actually produce anything. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as to whether you would use the bird out of cage number 2 or the bird or a fresh bird from cage number, or from the flight cage. Obviously a lot would depend on what they look like in terms of, do they match, are they good, you know, a good match to each other and all that sort of thing, just in terms of their overall appearance, you know, that I'm not doubling up on faults. You haven't seen that, but just generally let me know your thoughts on that. Anyway, that's a full roundup of all of the breeding cages. In the next episode we will have a look at the 2 youngsters that we haven't looked at yet prior to going into the nappy flight. So the youngster that's off of the Lutino and the youngster that is currently in cage number 2. So we'll have a look at those in the next episode. Well, that is just about all we've got time for in this episode. As always, if you do enjoy the shows, don't forget to hit the like button. I say it, you know, most weeks. The number of likes impact on the number of views, so please do hit the like button. If you're not yet a subscriber, then please do subscribe to the channel. We have hit the 1,500 subscribers, so for a small channel like mine, I'm really happy with that. So thank you very much to all those who have subscribed. But of course, the more subscribers, the the more reach the channel makes, and therefore the more people get a chance to look at bird keeping in general. Right, as I say, that is all we've got time for. So until the next one, as always, do stay safe, enjoy your birds.